Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Betting Truth. Today, we are on the crappy website known as Reddit, and we're going to talk about a highly upvoted post that got 229 upvotes, which is pretty high for the Sportsbook subreddit. And the title is NBA Player Prop Consistency Sheets from user Chancellor911. This was posted 9 days ago, and I want to comment on this because I just saw it. So anyway, what these player prop consistency sheets are is they're pretty much a tool to help you make player prop bets in the NBA. So, for example, Kyle Kuzma for the Washington Wizards has averaged 18.71 points in his last 7 games, and his points total for the game against the Chicago Bulls at home is 24.5. So what this consistency sheet is saying is that Kyle Kuzma has not hit the 24.5 mark in his last 7 games, right? Same with points, rebounds, and assists. His line is 36.5, but over the last 7 games, he has not gotten to 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's averaged 30.71. Al Horford points, 8.5 is the line, but he has not gotten 8.5 over the last 7 games. He's averaged 5.86. Anthony Edwards steals. The line is 1.5. He has not gotten 2 steals or more in the last 5 games. He's averaged 0.6. So really what this is saying is that if you're using this to bet, there's 2 angles you can go. You could say Kyle Kuzma has only averaged 18.71 points over the last 7 games. He has not scored 25 in the last 7 games. Therefore, under is the obvious bet. I'm going to ride his cold streak when it comes to points. Or you can say, oh, Kyle Kuzma hasn't gotten 25 points or more in the last 7 games. He's due. I'm going to bet over. So those are really the 2 angles you could use here. And I'm going to use the roulette wheel example. So whenever casinos, I don't know if this started in Las Vegas or somewhere else, but casinos, if you go to a roulette table these days, most of them are going to have a board that shows what the last results of like the last 30 spins have been. So the idiot is going to look at that board and say something like, oh, it's landed on red the last 10 spins. Well, black is due. And then they're going to bet black. Or they're going to say, oh, it's landed on red the last 10 spins. I'm going to ride that and keep it going. Or they're going to say, oh, it hasn't hit the number 6 in the last 30 spins. Well, the number 6 is due. So people who don't understand the concept of independent trials and independent outcomes are going to think that that board that shows the results of the last 30 spins has value. And unfortunately, for the people who bet using these NBA consistency sheets, the same concept applies here. Independent trials. First of all, none of these are large enough sample sizes to begin with. 7 games is the most we have here. I mean, missing the last 3 games, I mean, that's not even a big enough sample size. And really, you're not dealing with the same situation. So these last 7 games Kyle Kuzma has played, maybe he's played against really good defenses. Maybe he's gotten himself into foul trouble and hasn't been able to be on the court. Maybe someone else on the Washington Wizards has had the hot hand and has gotten more touches and more shot attempts. Maybe the opponents are double teaming Kyle Kuzma more and limiting his scoring. Maybe he's playing teams that have slower paced tempos and slow the games down. Or maybe the Chicago Bulls play at a very fast tempo and therefore more possessions are expected and therefore more points for Kyle Kuzma. Maybe somebody for the Washington Wizards who's a major scorer is hurt, and therefore Kyle Kuzma is going to have to pick up the scoring load. So there's a lot of factors and variables that come into play here to which you can't just look at one variable and say, oh, Kyle Kuzma hasn't scored 24.5 in his last 7 games. That's one variable. That is a single variant analysis, and it's not going to be strong enough for these NBA prop consistency sheets to have any value. I'm sorry, they don't. Absolutely worthless. I'm sorry. I know it sucks. The 229 people upvoted it thinking these sheets have value, upvoted them, but trust me, it doesn't. Independent trials, small sample sizes, and one variable. Those are the 3 issues I have. So if you're going to create a model to bet player props, you're going to have to build something like a Monte Carlo simulation or some kind of complex multivariate analysis that's going to simulate. So the reason Kyle Kuzma's line is 24.5 is because whoever created the model that set that line at 24.5, I don't know if it's DraftKings or whoever, but they pretty much said, okay, if this game, the Chicago Bulls at Washington Wizards, was played a million times, what would Kyle Kuzma's average point scored be in those million games? Well, they decided 24.5. That's why the number is 24.5. They're not stupid. Yeah, Kyle Kuzma's averaging 6 points less than that over the last 7 games, but when you put all the variables in a Chicago Bulls at Washington Wizards game into a blender, then 24.5 is the number they got. They're not stupid. They're not in this to lose money. So that's how I would do it back when I used to bet daily fantasy and basketball. It was college basketball, but still, I had a Monte Carlo simulation that would simulate a college basketball game, I don't know, like 1,000 times, and whatever the average numbers would be for everybody is what I would use to bet with. And so that's how you're going to be able to beat NBA props, not by something like this that uses one variable. You're going to need a ton of variables, right? You know, and you can make that case for everything. Maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns, maybe the Suns are very good at forcing turnovers, and that's why his line is 1.5, even though he's averaging 1 over the last 5 games. So there's a lot of different things you can at play here. That's why these are worthless. So let me see if the comments section can point this out. So the top comment is somebody else posting consistency sheets, also trash. I'm trying to find a comment that actually says what I'm saying. Okay, AA Simpson 04. These ignore matchups and injuries. The line is inflated for Kuzma with Beal and Porzingis out. Like I said, so 2 of their top scorers for the Wizards are out, so Kuzma's going to have to carry more scoring load. So he says use with caution. Couldn't have said it better myself. Ace Man says, as said, take these with a grain of salt. They don't take into account a lot of important variables. Ockhammer1 says, does anyone track how the strategy does? I might start and post the results so people aren't misled. I can guarantee you that these are not going to make you win money long term. So yeah, not a lot of helpful comments that called it out, but I think A. Simpsons 04's comment being upvoted so much kind of echoes what I've been saying, is that these are not worth anything. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it again. The reason they're not worth anything, small sample size, single variable, and independent outcomes. That's why. Anyway, that wraps up for this video of Sports Betting Truth. I hope, even though this post was posted 9 days ago, I hope over the last 9 days you haven't lost a lot of money using these worthless NBA prop consistency sheets to bet with. If you have, oh well, at least now you know not to anymore. You've been watching Sports Betting Truth. Stay tuned right here for actual sports betting advice that is useful instead of the trash you get from the touts and grifters out there. Anyway, guys, I will see you later.